Hi friends, welcome back. This is the South Texas Skillet and my name is Holly. And here I like to cook recipes that my family eats for dinner every night. It's usually recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation, or some new recipes that we've tried and decided that we just enjoyed them. So today we're going to make pork schnitzel. This is not a traditional pork schnitzel recipe, but it is one that we like, and we're going to serve it with an onion gravy. All right, let's get started. So let's start with our onion. We're just going to slice this up. All right, to slice an onion, I just cut it down the middle and then cut each of these sides into nice slices. It's pretty simple. You can make these as thick as you want or as thin as you want. Okay. All right, and that's it for the chopping. I'm gonna put this in a bowl. Let's set this aside. So I have some pork here. These are just pork cutlets or pork chops that have been pounded out, and we're going to season them with an all-purpose seasoning that I made up. All it is garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, a little bit of cayenne, salt, and pepper. You can make any kind of all-purpose seasoning that you want to, like a seasoned salt, and put any spices in it that you like. This is just what we like as in our family. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take these pork cutlets and season them on both sides. All right, once all of your pork chop is seasoned, now it's time to work on the breading. So all you do for this is take your pork chop, dredge it in flour, shake that off. Then you're going to put it in an egg mixture. This is just egg and water mixed together. Let that drip. And you can see our seasoning is still on the pork chop. All right, and then we're going to put it in breadcrumbs. This is Italian breadcrumbs. I didn't add any other seasoning to it, just Italian breadcrumbs. If you had plain breadcrumbs, you can do that and add whatever seasoning you want to it. All right, and then we're going to put that on a plate and we'll keep going. Once you are all finished with breading your pork chops, you want to let them sit with the breading on it for at least 5 minutes. So I normally don't heat up my oil or anything until after it's all been breaded, and then I'll start to heat up my oil because it's going to take about 5 minutes for it to get hot. That way I know that breading is going to stick and be nice and adhered to the meat before it goes into the oil. If you don't do that, then all it's going to do is fall off of the pork chops and burn in the bottom of your pan, and that's going to make for a terrible gravy. All right, let me get my hands washed up and then we'll be back. Okay, so our breading has been sitting on our pork for probably 10 minutes now. Our oil is heated up. I don't have a lot of oil in here, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. If I need to add more, I will. And then we're going to cook until it's browned on both sides. All of that pork is really thin, so it's not going to take a long time to cook. And I have a cookie sheet lined with foil with a cooling rack on top. That's going to be for when we pull the meat out. I want it to sit on this instead of on a plate piled on top of each other, so that way the breading stays nice and crispy. Right? And you don't want to overcrowd your pan. So we're just going to do probably 2 pieces at a time. And you want to make sure that you're getting a nice sizzle when the meat goes into the pan. If you don't, your oil's not hot enough yet, and you'll have to pull it out and let that oil come up to temp, or your pork is just going to absorb grease and not really cook. We are going to serve this with mashed potatoes and some green beans and carrots. All right. So I'm just checking the bottom. Once the bottom is golden brown, then we're going to flip it over. You don't want to really mess with it too much while it's in the pan. You want it to get a nice little crust. All right, once your pork chops are nice and golden brown on both sides, you're going to carefully take them out of the oil and put them on the cookie sheet. And just be careful with this part because you can knock off that good breading, and you definitely don't want to do that. Okay, I do like to use my hands when putting it in the oil. If you feel better using a fork or tongs, please do so. I do feel like the fork tends to knock off the breading. All right, I'm just going to cook up the rest, and we'll be back. Perfect. Okay, so we poured out about half of that oil into a bowl. If I need more to make the gravy, I'm going to pull from this. I am going to add in our onions. Whew. And we're going to cook these until they are a little caramelized. They don't have to be completely caramelized for this. Just let them get tender and get some color on them, and they're going to be great. You do want to make sure they're well coated in that oil. And then this could take about 10 minutes or so for the onions to cook down to what we want them to be. So it's not a true caramelization of the onions because that takes about 30 to 45 minutes. And we're not looking to do that, just to get them nice and soft with some color. All right, so once your onions have good color on them and they're nice and soft, mine are starting to caramelize, I'm gonna add in some flour. I don't think I need any more grease in there, so we're gonna try adding a 1/4 cup of flour, and if it seems too dry, then I'll add more grease to it. If you don't have any grease left over, you can always use butter for that. It works great and it gives it nice flavor. But I think we're gonna be perfect. So I'm just cooking this flour so it cooks out the raw flavor. If you don't do that, then your gravy is gonna taste like flour, and that's not what you want. So it looks like I could have used a little bit more flour in this. I'm gonna say right now I'm not gonna add any more though. I think it's gonna be okay. Usually you want it to thicken up a little bit more than it is right now. So there's still some grease left over. But I think once we put in the gravy or the broth, it's going to be just fine. Once you cook the flour down anyway, it does tend to liquefy a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add in our broth. This is beef broth. And I'm just adding a little bit at a time, and you can see that it really starts to thicken up. I'm gonna cook all of that in. You want it to kind of become a paste before you add in any more of your liquid. So each time you add in the broth, get it nice and incorporated before you add more in. Once you get it to this point, it's very important that you really get out all of those clumps of flour. If you don't, then you're going to have a very lumpy gravy, and that's not what you want. And now you can add as much liquid as you would like. I like my gravy to be thinner than the final product because the longer it cooks, the more it's going to thicken up. So I tend to go pretty thin at first. You can see the consistency here. And once it simmers, it's going to thicken. And I do have some of the seasoning left over from seasoning the pork chop, so I'm just going to add that in. We'll mix it up, let it simmer for a bit, and then I'll taste it and see if it needs any more salt or pepper. All right, so our broth still has to cook. It's getting thicker, but not quite where I want it yet. That's fine. I'm going to taste it and see if it needs any more salt or pepper. And it's going to need some more salt. I'm just going to mix this in. And I'll give it a minute or two, and then I'll see if it needs any more. I added just a little bit more pepper as well. You really do want this to cook in between tasting it, because if not, your salt hasn't dissolved yet, and it really hasn't seasoned the entire gravy. So give it a couple of minutes, let that salt dissolve, give it a few mixes, and then taste it. All right, so this is starting to thicken up. You can see that it's coating the spatula really well. I wanted to give it a taste real quick though, after I added in the last bit of salt. It's better. I feel like it needs a little bit more. All right, we're just gonna let this simmer until it thickens and everything should be ready to go. All right, so everything is done. And I don't know if you can hear this. That's nice and crispy. So we're gonna add some gravy to this real quick. I want some of the gravy on my pork chop. And I want some gravy on my mashed potatoes as well. It's gonna be absolutely delicious. All right, we'll start with the carrots that we made. These are nice and tender. You can see that they shrunk a little bit. That's okay. We're also serving this with green beans, so we have plenty of vegetables today. Those carrots are great. Make sure you don't put a lot of the pepper on it because carrots are sweet. And the more pepper you put on it, it kind of makes them spicy. The salt really brings out their flavor and it's just so delicious. All right, so now we're gonna try the meat. That crust is nice. I can hear it. I'm gonna cut it one more time. And I'm gonna get some gravy on there. There's a little onion on it. It's gonna be perfect. That is so good. There's so much flavor in the piece of meat as well as in the gravy. You can almost skip the gravy on this if you wanted to. I don't recommend doing that because the gravy is so great, but that meat is so flavorful. It's just delicious. If you would like a good dessert to pair this with, go ahead and click the link right here and give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.